What if I told you that some of the most repeated pieces of advice you've ever heard are exactly the ones holding you back? Be positive. Wait your turn. Live each day as if it were your last. It sounds beautiful, inspiring, almost undeniable. But here's the problem. Many of these slogans carry warning signs that no one taught you to see. Over the years, you may have followed these sayings with good intentions. But then silent symptoms began to appear. Frustration without a clear reason, a feeling of always being busy but never making progress. These are initial symptoms that many people ignore because the advice seems good. But there are symptoms you shouldn't ignore, especially when they come disguised as folk wisdom. Perhaps you waited too long. Perhaps it was too positive. Perhaps he was too honest, too patient, too versatile. And the early warning signs were there all along. The signs from the emotional body appear as constant tiredness. The signals your body is giving you manifest as that strange feeling that something is wrong, even when you are doing everything right. Today, you will see what almost no one dares to say. Some widely accepted advice may be sabotaging your growth. And when you notice the pattern, you won't be able to live on autopilot anymore. Stay with me until the end, because what seems like simple life advice may be shaping your destiny in invisible ways. Live every day like it's your last. He often looks into the eyes of those who repeat this phrase and calmly asks, is that really true? Living each day as if it were the last may sound inspiring, but it also carries warning signs that few people notice. When someone transforms urgency into a lifestyle, silent symptoms of impulsivity disguised as intensity emerge. Excessive spending, hasty decisions, rushed relationships. These are initial symptoms that seem like courage, but sometimes are escape. He always says, don't ignore these movements, because the signals from the emotional body begin to show fatigue before the mind admits it. He would explain this with a simple example. Imagine someone who, upon receiving their salary, thinks it's now or never and spends it all on a trip paid in installments. It seems like freedom, but the hidden symptoms appear in the credit card bill and the anxiety of the following month. These are early warning signs that the philosophy has become an excuse. He would advise practical balance, living with presence, yes, but investing for the future as well. For example, investing part of your income in ETFs like IVVB11 or in Treasury Select bonds. Because the symptoms you shouldn't ignore often hide in the euphoria. Living intensely is beautiful, but living strategically is powerful. He would say, almost whispering, observe the signals your body is giving you when you feel constantly rushed. Sometimes, urgency is disguised fear. The silent signs appear in exhaustion, difficulty planning, and the inability to postpone pleasure. And when you realize this, you begin to question whether simply being positive solves everything, or if that's just another phrase that carries invisible traps. Just be positive. He often smiles when someone says, just be positive, as if that were a universal remedy. But deep down, he knows that this phrase also carries warning signs that almost no one wants to see. Blind positivity can generate silent symptoms of emotional denial. When someone ignores sadness, frustration, or fear, initial symptoms appear that seem like strength, but are actually repression. He always advises, don't ignore uncomfortable emotions, because the signals from your emotional body don't disappear just because you've decided to smile. He would explain it practically. Think of someone who lost their job and keeps repeating, everything will be all right, without revising their resume or seeking new skills. These are hidden symptoms of self-deception. Early warning signs appear in procrastination, disguised as faith. He would suggest something concrete. Practice strategic positivity. Recognize the problem and act. Take practical courses in the area you want to grow in. Read Carol Dweck's Mindset to develop a growth mindset. Because the symptoms you shouldn't ignore appear when positive thinking replaces real action. He would say, with the serenity of an experienced mentor, healthy positivity is fuel. Toxic positivity is anesthesia. Observe the signals your body is giving you when you avoid difficult conversations or necessary decisions. The silent signs appear in accumulated tension, unresolved stress, and superficial relationships. Don't ignore it when optimism becomes an escape. And when you start to realize this, perhaps you'll understand that giving yourself a gift can also hide something that few admit. Treat yourself. He often says that rewarding yourself is healthy, up to a point. The problem begins when this phrase becomes an automatic justification for any impulse. Then warning signs appear that many people prefer to romanticize. Stress-related shopping, food as emotional anesthesia, unnecessary installment payments. These are silent symptoms that seem like self-care, but hide internal wear and tear. He always warns, don't ignore when immediate pleasure starts to become an addiction, because the signs from the financial and emotional body appear before the crisis. He would explain it this way. Imagine someone who, after a difficult day, decides to deserve an expense that compromises their budget. It seems small, but these are initial symptoms of a pattern. Early warning signs appear when the credit card becomes an extension of one's mood. He would suggest something practical. Create a planned monthly reward fund limited to 5% of your income. This way, the pleasure doesn't destroy the plan. Read The Richest Man in Babylon to understand how financial balance protects your freedom. Because the symptoms you shouldn't ignore are in the repetition, not the isolated act. He would say calmly and firmly, self-care is not disguised sabotage. Observe the signals your body is giving you when consumption becomes emotional compensation. The hidden symptoms appear in post-purchase anxiety, silent guilt, and a constant need for stimulation. These are silent signs that something deeper needs attention. And when you start to see this, you might realize that waiting for the right moment can also hide a trap. Good things come to those who wait. He often says that patience is a virtue, but passivity is a trap. The phrase, good things come to those who wait, sounds wise, but it carries warning signs that few notice. When waiting becomes an excuse for inaction, silent symptoms of stagnation emerge. The person says they are waiting for the right moment, but the initial symptoms appear in the lack of real movement. He always advises, don't ignore it when waiting starts to seem too comfortable, because the signals from the professional body show restlessness before frustration explodes. He would explain with a direct example. Someone wants to change careers, but spends years just consuming motivational content. These are hidden symptoms of procrastination disguised as preparation. Early warning signs appear when planning never translates into execution. He would suggest something practical. Define a concrete weekly goal. Send out 3 resumes. Start a technical course. Open a micro-enterprise if you want to become an entrepreneur. Read The One Thing by Gary Keller to learn strategic focus, because the symptoms you shouldn't ignore emerge when time passes and nothing changes. He would say with strategic serenity, patience is powerful when accompanied by silent action. Observe the signals your body is giving you when waiting begins to generate anxiety or comparison with others. These are silent signs that your internal clock is asking for movement. Don't ignore productive restlessness. And when you begin to realize this, perhaps you'll understand that it's not always wise to never go to sleep angry without first understanding what the anger is trying to teach you. Never go to bed angry. He often says that this phrase sounds mature, but it can hide emotional warning signs that almost no one notices. Never go to bed angry sounds like golden advice, but it can generate silent symptoms of repression. When someone forces a reconciliation before processing what they feel, initial symptoms of internal wear and tear appear. He always reminds us, don't ignore the need for time for reflection, because the signs of the emotional body appear as tension in the chest, insomnia, or accumulated irritation. He would explain with a practical example. A couple argues at night and decides to resolve everything immediately, even though they are exhausted. What seems like maturity can turn into hidden symptoms of poorly processed conversation. Early warning signs appear when the argument becomes a repetitive cycle. He would suggest something simple. If the dialogue is unproductive, pause responsibly. Agree to resume the next day when you are both rested. Read Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg to learn how to structure difficult conversations. Because the symptoms you shouldn't ignore appear when resolving things quickly becomes synonymous with deeply ignoring them. He would say calmly and firmly, sometimes going to sleep angry is better than waking up with unresolved resentment. Pay attention to the signals your body is giving you when the rush to harmonize is masking a fear of conflict. These are silent signs of discomfort with healthy confrontation. Don't ignore the time needed for emotional clarity, and when you begin to understand this, perhaps you'll realize that saying honesty is always the best policy also needs context and strategy. Honesty is the best policy. He often says that honesty is a virtue, but naivete is not. The phrase honesty is always the best policy carries warning signs when interpreted without discernment. Saying everything all the time to anyone can generate silent symptoms of unnecessary exposure. The initial symptoms appear when a person confuses transparency with verbal impulsiveness. He always advises, don't ignore the context, because the signals from the social body show discomfort when the truth is spoken without wisdom. He would explain it this way. Imagine someone in the workplace who verbalizes every criticism they think without any strategic filter. It seems like authenticity, but it can generate hidden symptoms of professional isolation. Early warning signs appear in the loss of trust, in the exclusion from important decisions. He would suggest something practical. Practice intelligent honesty. Ask yourself, is this true, necessary, and useful? Read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie to understand timing and diplomacy. Because the symptoms you shouldn't ignore arise when sincerity becomes a weapon against yourself. He would say with experienced serenity, truth is powerful, but timing is strategic. Pay attention to the signals your body is giving you when you feel a compulsive need to say everything immediately. These are silent signs of anxiety, not courage. Don't ignore the power of calculated silence. And when you start to realize this, perhaps you'll understand that being good at everything can also hide a trap disguised as versatility. A jack of all trades is a master of none. He often says that versatility is useful, but dispersion is dangerous. The phrase, better to know a little about everything, can hide warning signs that go unnoticed. When someone tries to embrace every opportunity, silent symptoms of chronic superficiality emerge. The initial symptoms appear in the difficulty of excelling in something specific. He always advises, don't ignore it when you start many things and finish few, because the signs from the professional body show frustration before stagnation. He would explain with a direct example. Someone takes courses in marketing, programming, design, investments, and languages, but doesn't delve deeply into any of them. It seems like productivity, but it could be hidden symptoms of a fear of commitment to a single skill. Early warning signs appear when the resume grows, but real competence doesn't evolve. He would suggest something concrete. Choose a core skill and dedicate 80% of your time to it for 12 months. Read Deep Work by Cal Newport to understand the power of deep concentration, because the symptoms you shouldn't ignore appear when you're too busy to excel. He would say, with that patient mentor-like look, breadth opens doors, but depth builds authority. Pay attention to the signals your body is giving you when you feel anxious about not mastering anything. These are silent signs that you're lacking focus. Don't ignore the feeling of constant distraction. And when you start to see this, you might realize that repeating something many times doesn't necessarily mean achieving perfection. Practice makes perfect. He often says that practice is essential, but perfection is an elegant trap. The phrase "practice makes perfect" carries warning signs when someone confuses repetition with evolution. Repeating the same mistake 1,000 times doesn't generate excellence, it generates a bad habit. These are silent symptoms of misdirected effort. The initial symptoms appear when a person trains a lot but doesn't truly improve. He always advises, don't ignore the difference between deliberate practice and automatic practice, because the body's performance signals show stagnation before failure. He would explain it this way. Imagine someone studying for a competitive exam who only rereads the material without doing practice questions. It seems like dedication, but it can hide hidden symptoms of cognitive comfort. Early warning signs appear when performance on practice tests doesn't improve. He would suggest something practical. Adopt deliberate practice. Review mistakes. Ask for feedback. Adjust your strategy. Read Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell and understand that time counts, but method counts more, because the symptoms you shouldn't ignore arise when effort doesn't generate proportional results. He would say with calm firmness, perfection is not a goal, it's a direction. Pay attention to the signals your body is giving you when you feel frustrated despite trying very hard. These are silent signs that perhaps adjustment is lacking, not effort. Don't ignore the need for strategy and repetition. And when you start to realize this, you understand that many popular pieces of advice sound inspiring, but they may be leading your life in the wrong direction without you realizing it. If you've stayed this far, it's because something inside you has awakened. Perhaps it was that silent discomfort. Perhaps at some point in the video, you recognized warning signs that were already present in your own life. The truth is, when we start questioning popular advice, we also begin to see the silent symptoms that were holding us back. Now you understand that not all well-intentioned advice is harmless. You began to notice the early warning signs, the initial symptoms, the hidden symptoms that emerge when we follow ready-made phrases without strategic reflection. And these are exactly the symptoms you shouldn't ignore. The question that remains is simple, but powerful. How many decisions in your life have been based on pretty phrases and not on real analysis? Pay attention to the signals your body is giving you in the coming days. That mild anxiety, that feeling of doing a lot and making little progress. These are silent signs that you may need to adjust your course. But here's the most important point. You've already taken the first step. You asked, you reflected, and those who question begin to evolve. If this video opened your mind, imagine what's coming next. Here, we don't accept popular advice as absolute truth. We analyze, dismantle, and rebuild strategically. So do the following. Subscribe to the channel now. Turn on notifications, because the upcoming videos will delve even deeper into these invisible patterns that shape your life without you even realizing it. And tell me in the comments, which of these pieces of advice have you followed without question?